So welcome to today's deep dive. We are super excited for this one.
Yeah, we really are.
And we are talking directly to you today. We know you aren't a beginner. You already have a really solid foundation in English, right?
Exactly. You know the grammar, you have a good vocabulary.
Right, but you're looking for that edge, that ability to just participate smoothly in those fast-paced, real-world workplace conversations.
Which is exactly why we're looking at today's source material. It explores a strategy for language learning that sounds, well, kind of backward at first.
It really does. The whole concept is talk first, think later.
Right. And our mission today is to figure out why this backward advice is actually the secret to fluency. Like, why do we freeze up? How do we break the habit of translating in our heads?
Yeah, and we're going to look at some very practical ways to practice so that your English just flows out naturally.
So let's get into it.
Let's do it. Okay, so I want you to picture this. You are sitting in an important meeting at work. The conversation is moving fast, People are throwing around ideas in English. And suddenly, you have a breakthrough.
Oh, the best feeling.
Right. It's the perfect solution to the team's problem. You know exactly what needs to be done.
But let me guess you don't say it.
No. You stay totally quiet.
Yeah, you just sit there.
Exactly. Because first, you start drafting the sentence in your head. You check your verb tense. Is it present perfect or simple past?
Right, you're running through the textbook.
Yeah. And then you're searching your brain for that one perfect professional vocabulary word you studied last week.
Because you want it to sound flawless.
Right, flawless. But by the time you finally open your mouth...
the topic has already changed. Someone else is talking.
Yes, the moment is completely gone.
It is super frustrating.
It's the absolute worst feeling. Because you have the vocabulary, you know the grammar, but there is this heavy silence, this invisible barrier that just kills your flow.
Yeah, and the sources have a great name for this. They call it the mental translation lag.
The mental translation lag? I mean, that is the perfect name for it. It's that awkward pause. But what is actually happening in the brain during that lag? Why do we just freeze?
Well, all comes down to working memory. Think of your brain's working memory like the RAM in a computer.
Okay, sure.
It can only process a few pieces of information at the exact same time. When you speak your native language, the process is basically automatic.
You just have an idea and the words come out.
Right. It takes very little working memory. But when we speak a second language, especially in a professional setting,
we're running way too many heavy programs at once.
Precisely. You are trying to hold the main idea in your head, right? Plus, you are searching for vocabulary. You're applying complex grammar rules. And on top of all that, you're managing social anxiety.
Oh, yeah. Worrying about what the boss thinks.
Exactly. You're worrying if you sound smart. It's simply too much cognitive load. The computer crashes.
And that crash is the freeze.
Yes. So the translation lag isn't a lack of knowledge at all. It is an overload of processing. We freeze because we prioritize perfect accuracy over the natural flow of the conversation.
Wow. Prioritizing accuracy over flow. That makes so much sense.
And, this is a very specific problem for adult learners.
Oh, really?
Yeah, children do not have this problem. A kid learning a language just wants to play. They don't care if they use the wrong verb tense.
They just want to tell you about their toy.
Exactly. But adults are used to being competent. If you're a professional, you're smart. You're good at your job.
Right, and it feels terrible to open your mouth and sound like you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, we are terrified of making a mistake and looking foolish.
Which is entirely natural, honestly.
It is. But holding on to this desire for perfection is actually super dangerous for your progress. It robs you of the exact practice you need to improve.
So it's basically a trap.
A huge trap. Think about learning to ride a bicycle.
Oh, I really like this analogy from the sources, because learning a language isn't just an academic exercise.
No, it's a physical skill.
Right. So imagine sitting in your living room and reading 10 books about how to ride a bike.
Right. You study the physics of balance.
Yeah. You memorize the mechanics of the pedals. You can pass a written test on bicycle theory with a perfect score.
But the second you sit on a real bicycle for the first time,
you're going to wobble.
You are definitely going to wobble.
Yeah.
You're probably going to fall over.
Right. Because reading the books did not teach your nervous system how to ride.
Exactly. Yeah. To actually acquire the skill, you have to get on the bike. You have to experience the wobble.
The wobble. I love that.
Yeah, in skill acquisition, you have to accept a certain failure rate. The wobble is not a failure. It is literally the body learning to find its center.
So when you sit in a meeting demanding perfect grammar from yourself before you even speak,
you're just reading the bicycle book again.
Wow. You are not pedaling. By avoiding the wobble, you are avoiding the real learning.
Which brings us to a really critical crossroad here.
Right, because if perfection is the enemy of speaking, and we need to accept the wobble, like, how do we actually handle that in real time? Because recognizing the freeze is only half the battle, right? If my brain's natural defense mechanism is to shut down when I can't find the perfect word, how do I physically override that circuit? Like, what do I do when I am in the middle of a sentence and my mind just goes completely blank?
You have to totally reframe your identity in that moment.
What do you mean?
You stop being a student taking a grammar test, and you become an improviser.
Oh, like an actor on a stage without a script.
Exactly. They can't just stop the play because they forgot a line. The show has to keep moving.
The show must go on.
That is the exact mindset. An improviser uses whatever basic tools they currently have to get the main idea across.
So if you're missing one specific tool, like one specific vocabulary word, you don't stop talking.
No, you talk around the word.
Okay, I have to bring this up. I was reading through the notes on this strategy, and I actually laughed out loud at one of the examples.
Oh, the refrigerator one.
Yes. It was so simple, but it perfectly illustrates the point. Let's say you're talking, and you suddenly completely blank on the English word for refrigerator.
It happens to all of us.
Right. The advice in the source says, do not freeze. Do not search your brain for 10 seconds. Just call it the cold box where we keep the food.
The cold box. It's brilliant.
Because it keeps the momentum alive. It prioritizes the flow of information over the precision of the vocabulary.
Exactly.
But, okay, wait. I am going to stop you there and play devil's advocate for a minute.
Sure.
Because I want to put myself in our listeners' shoes. They want to be competitive in their career. They want respect, right?
Absolutely.
If I am in a boardroom with my manager and I start calling a fridge a cold box, won't I sound incompetent? Like, won't my colleagues judge me for sounding like a child?
Look, I hear that fear a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a very, very valid anxiety.
This is scary.
But let's look at the reality of human communication. That fear is almost entirely in our own heads. Yeah. Think about it from the native speaker's perspective. If someone is speaking your native language and they clearly have a great idea, but they say, the cold box, how do you react?
I suppose I just smile. Like, I understand immediately what they mean.
Right.
I might even say, oh, you mean the refrigerator? Yeah, it's over there.
Exactly. You jump in and help them.
Yeah, I guess I do.
You don't sit there silently judging their vocabulary level. Native speakers are usually incredibly patient. They value the speed of the communication and the quality of the idea much more than the specific noun you use.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. The awkward 10-second painful silence is much more uncomfortable for everyone in the room than just saying cold box.
100%. When you talk around the word, you actually invite the other person to collaborate with you.
Oh, that's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah, it turns a moment of panic into a moment of human connection. And here is another secret that learners often forget.
What's that?
Native speakers do not use perfect grammar in their own language.
Oh, we really don't.
Not at all.
If you transcribe a natural conversation between native English speakers, it is full of mistakes. We leave sentences half-finished. We use totally incorrect grammar for effect. We restart our sentences constantly.
Because the ultimate goal of language is connection, not passing an exam.
Right.
And the improviser mindset takes that crushing pressure off your shoulders. It gives you permission to use the simple vocabulary you already possess to express a complex idea right now.
Connection over perfection. I love that. That's a great rule to remember.
It really is.
But I want to shift gears slightly, because understanding this mindset intellectually is one thing, right?
Sure.
But training your brain to actually do it when the pressure is on is another.
It's the hardest part.
So if our listener wants to build this talk first muscle, how do they practice? Because telling someone, just don't be anxious, never actually works.
No, it definitely doesn't. You need a system. You need concrete, low-pressure environments to build this muscle safely.
Okay, so where do we start?
The best way to start is by removing the social threat entirely.
Which brings us to the first practical strategy from the sources, solo practice.
Yes.
And the idea here is basically just to talk to yourself. You narrate your day in simple English sentences.
Right, like, I am walking to the kitchen.
I am turning on the computer. The sky looks cloudy today.
It sounds incredibly basic, but it is a highly effective way to rewire the brain.
Okay, I have to be honest with you. I tried this yesterday to prepare for this deep dive.
Oh, really? How did it go?
I was walking around my apartment, narrating my life out loud like a sports commentator.
That's amazing.
He is picking up the coffee mug. He is drinking the coffee. I felt completely ridiculous.
I bet.
Like, why does this actually work?
Well, it feels strange at first, but it works on two different levels. First, as we mentioned, it drops your cortisol levels.
Cortisol being the stress hormone.
Exactly. When cortisol is high, like when you're talking to your boss, your brain shuts down access to higher level thinking and vocabulary.
Freeze.
Right. By talking to yourself in an empty room, your cortisol is at zero. Your brain feels safe.
Because there's no audience to judge the wobble.
Exactly. But the second reason is purely physical. Speaking a language is a motor skill. It is literally physical training for your face.
Physical training, like going to the gym for your mouth.
Yes, exactly. English requires totally different movements of the jaw, the tongue, and the lips compared to your native language.
Oh, that makes sense.
You have to physically train those articulators to form English sounds without hesitation. Think about a pianist practicing scales.
Right.
They don't think about where to place their fingers during a concert. The muscle memory just takes over.
I never thought about it like that. When you narrate your life out loud, you are building that physical muscle memory with the vocabulary you already know.
And you're forcing the brain to bypass the translation stage.
Because there's no time.
Right. When you are looking at a coffee mug and saying coffee mug out loud, you do not have time to translate it from your native language first. You are linking the English word directly to the physical object in the real world.
You are reacting, not translating.
Exactly.
Okay, so once I feel comfortable talking to the walls of my apartment, I assume I need to level up. Like, I need a real human being.
You do. But you do not jump straight into a busy boardroom. You have to control the environment.
Okay, so what's the next step?
That is scenario B from the sources. Partner practice.
This involves finding one person, maybe a language exchange partner, a tutor, or even a patient colleague, and having a conversation for just 15 to 20 minutes.
Yes, and that time limit is crucial.
Why just 15 minutes?
Because a lot of learners try to go to like a 2-hour networking event to practice their English.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds exhausting.
It's like trying to run a marathon before you have jogged around the block.
Yeah.
It is just too much input. You get tired, the translation lag comes back, and then you just feel defeated.
So 15 minutes is manageable. You can sustain your focus for 15 minutes.
Yes, but there's a specific psychological technique you should use before the timer even starts.
Oh, right. I remember this from the notes. It's a great tip.
When you sit down with your partner, you explicitly tell them your goal. You say, hey, I am practicing my fluency today. I am actively trying not to translate in my head. Therefore, I am going to make grammar mistakes. Please do not correct me unless I completely lose the meaning.
Oh, that is a fantastic trick. You basically announce the wobble before you even get on the bike.
It changes the entire dynamic of the conversation.
I bet.
By stating your intentions out loud, you completely remove the fear of judgment. You manage your partner's expectations, and more importantly, you manage your own.
Right.
You've given yourself official permission to be an improviser.
It just takes all the heavy weight off your shoulders. You can just play with the language. I am focusing on flow today. Expect mistakes. I really love that.
It is incredibly liberating. And it leads to a very surprising secondary benefit.
Okay, let's talk about this. Because as you push yourself to talk first and embrace the flow, something else happens, right?
Right.
And I am so glad you brought this up. I was quite skeptical when I first saw this claim in the sources. Yeah, the idea is that pushing yourself to speak actually makes you a better listener. I'll admit, that confused me.
It sounds totally backward.
Because speaking and listening feel like two completely different neural pathways. If I am talking, I am clearly not listening. How does taking the risk to speak improve my ear?
It is counterintuitive, I know, but it comes down to a state of hyperfocus. It creates a positive feedback loop.
Okay, break that down for me.
Think about the difference between passive hearing and active listening.
Passive hearing is like having the television on in the background while you cook dinner. You hear the noise, but you aren't really processing the information.
Exactly. And many language learners accidentally fall into passive hearing during conversations.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. If there are 3 native speakers talking, it is very easy to just sit back, nod, and let the words just wash over you.
You understand the general topic, but you are not actively engaged.
Right. Or worse, you're hiding inside your own head, frantically trying to construct your perfect sentence for when there is a pause.
And while I am inside my head building my perfect sentence, I am definitely not listening to what the other person is saying right now.
Exactly. You are completely disconnected from the reality of the conversation.
Wow, yeah.
But when you adopt the talk first, think later mindset, everything shifts. When you know you are on the hook to respond, and you know you're just going to improvise your response, you stay fully present.
You literally cannot tune out because you have to react to the very last thing they said.
Right. The urgent, immediate need to respond forces your brain to tune in at a much deeper level.
Oh, I see.
You stop listening for individual translated vocabulary words. Instead, you start listening for meaning, rhythm, and intonation. You hear how native speakers actually phrase things. You notice the natural speed.
It is like playing a fast-paced video game instead of watching a movie. Your brain is on high alert.
That's a great way to put it.
You're processing the incoming English much more efficiently because, well, your survival in the conversation depends on it.
It is a two-way street. The braver you are with speaking, the sharper your gears become. When you stop translating your own thoughts, you free up all that working memory we talked about earlier.
And you can use that extra brain power to truly listen to your partner.
Exactly.
That is a massive return on investment. You spend 15 minutes a day improvising, and you're secretly upgrading your listening comprehension at the exact same time.
It's amazing.
It accelerates your overall fluency so much faster than just studying grammar books in isolation.
Because you are treating the language as a living, breathing tool for connection, rather than a puzzle to be perfectly solved.
Man, we have covered some really deep concepts today.
We really have.
So let's summarize the mission for our listener. If you want that edge in the workplace, if you want to jump into those fast-paced meetings without freezing, the first step is to recognize the translation lag.
Right.
Understand that your working memory is just overloaded. It's not that you don't know the words.
And to fix that overload, you have to lower your expectations for perfect accuracy. You have to be willing to get on the bicycle and accept an acceptable failure rate.
Because the wobble is where the learning happens.
Exactly.
Second, step into the identity of an improviser. If you lose a word, do not let the silence win. Use the cold box strategy.
Yes, the cold box.
Talk around the missing word using the simple vocabulary you already have. Remember that your colleagues care about your brilliant ideas, not your ability to recall the perfect noun.
And finally, you have to actually train the physical muscle memory. Start by narrating your life to yourself in an empty room to drop your cortisol levels.
Even if you feel like a crazy sports commentator.
Even then. And then graduate to a 15-minute focused chat with a partner. Announce your intentions up front. Tell them you're prioritizing flow over perfection today.
Implementing these strategies, getting out of your head and into the real world, is how you stop translating and start reacting. It gives you the immediate, natural flow that makes you highly competitive and confident in any English-speaking environment.
It truly changes the way you interact with the world.
It really does.
But, as we wrap up this discussion, I do want to leave you with one final thought to ponder.
Okay, what's that?
Well, we discussed earlier how native speakers themselves rarely use perfect grammar in casual or even professional conversations.
Right.
They use slang, they drop words, they make constant structural errors.
They just flow.
Exactly. So if the native speakers themselves are not striving for textbook perfection in their daily lives, what does perfect English actually mean?
Oh, wow.
And more importantly, if the people you are talking to don't demand perfection from themselves, is perfection really a goal worth chasing for you?
That is a fantastic question to end on. Think about that the next time you hesitate to share your idea in a meeting. Stop translating, start reacting, and embrace the wobble. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.